ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्योजात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारमीश्वरं व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्। So we are almost in the last about 12 to 13 verses of Aparokshanubhuti. And here Bhagwan Shankaracharya is talking about the result of this nididhyasana. We can even say the phalam of this nididhyasana. And what did we see from the 129th verse up till the 132nd verse which we took last time? We saw that this vritti, what is this vritti means what? This thought, aham brahmasmi, brahma satyam, jagan mithya, becomes a well established thought in me, a well assimilated thought, a well digested thought. That thought may not be there all the time in my mind, it's not necessary. But whenever I need it, when I have a problem, then that knowledge immediately comes. As I said in the last session, we have to understand very well that a jnani who is abiding in his Atma Swarupa, he knows he is the Gunatita Atma. But unfortunately, the body mind sense complex Upadhi which is associated with him still is a product of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. So the jnani also has his time, his periods of sometimes rajoguna, sometimes tamoguna. Sometimes even a jnani may get disturbed. But what is the difference between we, the ajnanis, and the jnanis? The moment the jnani feels disturbed by the jagat outside, immediately this knowledge, which is an assimilated knowledge, comes to his rescue. It immediately comes to his rescue, and he is able to knock off that thought of samsara. That thought, a negative thought you say, or a thought of maybe kama, krodha, whatever it may be, because it's the mind which still has the emotions. It's the mind which is still a product of the three gunas. So a jnani may also get disturbed for the time being sometimes. He may also get affected by what is happening outside, but there is not a reactive mind, it is a responsive mind. The mind reacts, the mind responds to the situation. If a jnani sees something sad, he also feels sad. It's not that the jnani is without any emotions, but immediately this knowledge, which is an assimilated knowledge, comes, and he is able to understand immediately that all this is mithya. This cannot really affect me. I cannot really get bound by this. Yes, there are temporary situations of disturbance as a response of the mind in a jnani also, but it does not become a prolonged bondage like we people experience. This is what is called as jnana. Jnana does not mean that I have the thought of aham brahmasmi all the time. No. And Jnani's mind also is available for whatever he's doing. And he'll do it probably more, you know, beautifully or more efficiently than any one of us do. The thing is that the mind does not become a source of bondage to him, because this knowledge, aham brahmasmi, brahma satyam, jagan mithya, is so spontaneously available to him as and when his mind responds to certain, you know, uh, situations in the world outside, whether it's a happy situation or a sad situation. The jnani is able to clearly see that ultimately this is mithya. This is not long standing. This is something which comes and goes. And aham asanga atma asmi. I cannot be affected by any of these changing things in the jagat outside. That he knows very well. And therefore it is said that this brahmakara vritti is a vritti, or this idea or this thought, aham brahmasmi, nothing can disturb me. I am the nitya shuddha buddha mukta purna brahma, and whatever is outside is a mere name and form mithya creation, Ishvara's creation, which is bound to be there. I'm not going to, my knowledge is not going to remove that creation of Ishvara. It will remain, but it is no longer going to disturb me. This is the spontaneously available knowledge he has. And this is what he calls as the bhava vritti or brahmakara vritti, which is there ready to back him up. So we saw here that in the previous, the last verse which we ended our topic with last time is Yesham vritti samavriddha paripakva cha sapunah ते वै सद्ब्रह्मतां prapta netare shabdavadinah. So he says here, Yesham, for those knowledge, jnanis, those all those wise people, vrittihi samavriddha. It's an established vritti. We also have that after listening for so many years to our scriptures. Yes, I also know aham satyam, aham brahmasmi. I am totally unaffected by anything that happens in the world outside. I know it, but it has not become an assimilated knowledge in me. So when I need it, I don't get it. I'm easily drawn by the Jagat and its, you know, a kind of variegacies of the world. I'm drawn. And when there is a sad or negative influence outside, I get bound. I get sorrow. I get dukkha. And it progresses. Not like in a jnani where immediately this knowledge comes to his rescue and he's no longer bound by this thought. But in my case, the thought goes on ramifying, and there is a bondage that is felt for a very, very long period of time. So, what is said here is in a jnani, the frequency of getting disturbed becomes very less. Whereas in us, every small change in the world outside, whether it is people or situations or what, disturbs us. The frequency of reaction of our minds is very, very, very high. Whereas for a jnani, the frequency of his mind responding to the world outside and giving him disturbance is very less. Recovery time and intensity of such disturbances are very low in Ajnani. The intensity of bondage, the intensity of sukha dukkha is very, very, very less. Whereas in us, the intensity of that bondage is very strong. When we feel sad, that sadness is intense in us and we go on feeling it for a prolonged period of time. That's not so in Ajnani. Recovery period, in a jnani, he recovers from this particular disturbance instantaneously. Because at that very instant, that particular knowledge which is established, which is assimilated, comes to his rescue. But in us, the recovery time is long. Somebody has hurt me, I am upset by it, I'm dukhi by it, somebody has insulted me, okay? I keep on remembering it. I, go on expanding it like a rubber band. It lasts in me for a long period of time. That is why Bhagwan Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita in the second chapter, Dukkheshu anudvignamana sukheshu vigataspriha vitaragha bhaya krodaha sthitadhir muniruchyate. So there is no question of Dukkheshu anudvignamana. At the time of dukkha, when there is a bodily pain, even the jnani will cry and say, oh, it's paining. But that's very short. It's a very momentary reaction. The frequency is less, the intensity less, and the recovery is fast from that. Whereas in us, what happens? Very frequently, we are yo-yoing and affected by the samsara, high intensity of these disturbances, and every disturbance takes days or weeks for us to get out of that particular reactive mind. So, a jnani's mind is a responsive mind, whereas an ajnani's mind is a usual reactive mind. A reactive mind is a samsari mind, whereas a responsive mind, where the frequency, the intensity of the reaction response is low, and the recovery from that particular response is also very fast. So he says that yesham vritti samavriddhaha, that which is well established. Vrittihi, which vrittihi? Aham satyam vritti, jagan mithya vritti, samavriddha paripakva cha sa punaha. It is fully matured and ripe in him. The understanding is ripe. Everything has to be ripe enough for it to be assimilated. So this Brahmakara vritti is a very, very ripe vritti. Te vai sad brahmatam prapta. And what is the result of this? What is the phalam of this vritti? What is the phalam of this nididhyasanam? This aham brahmasmi vritti, which is well established, sad brahmatam prapta. Sat Brahmatam Prapta. They are the ones who have attained Brahman. They have attained moksha. As I said in the last session only, there is nothing to attain. Brahman is not something that is somewhere far away which we have to attain. No. At the same time, it is not something that has to be got. Brahma Prapti or Brahma Aptavyam means what? That aham brahmasmi knowledge which is well established in me, paripakva jnanam, samyak darshanam, it is called as. That where there is a clarity of perception that I am the consciousness which is the only satyam, everything else has its role in the jagat, but that can no longer trouble me. It may trouble me instantaneously for a while, as this mind also responds to that situation. But then I am asangaha most of the time. So this is the result, the phalam of this knowledge, what we call as the Jivan Mukti. And the phalam is being talked about further. And he says, mere understanding of this knowledge is not sufficient. A verbal understanding or an intellectual understanding, but that has not made any sense to me as far as it has not become the truth for me. Such an understanding is very, very superficial, which he spoke in the previous verses also, that which we talked about. Now he says in the 133rd verse, he says the same thing which he has repeated a few verses ago, says, कुशला ब्रह्मवार्तायां वृत्तिहीनाः सुरागणः सुरागिणः तेऽपि अज्ञानितया नूनं पुनरायान्ति यान्ति च. So he says kushala brahma vartayam. Okay, they are very clever, they are very rational. There are some people clearly understood what the Upanishads are talking about. No doubt about Aham Brahmasmi. No doubt about Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, no doubt about it. But and they can talk very, very clearly about it also. Very clearly they can talk about it. Brahma Vartayam Kushalaha. They are very good. They can give lectures. They can be professors. They can train PhD students under them in Prasthanatraya Bhashya also. Prasthanatraya they can do. They can probably teach, or they can probably guide students on the differences between Acharya's Bhashya, Shankaracharya's Bhashya, and another Acharya's Bhashya in this. And probably, there may be so many people studying under him. So, Brahma Vartayam Kushalaha. They are very clever, very articulate in talking about it. They can repeat it very well. Whatever they have learned, sometimes these people may be even better, orators than even the guru. It is possible. So they may be Brahma Vartayam Kushalaha, but Vrittihinaha. That Vritti, Akhandakara Vritti, Brahmakara Vritti, Aham Brahmasmi Vritti has not made any change in them. It has not brought about any transformation in them. See, this knowledge is a transformative knowledge. Unless this knowledge has transformed me, unless it has converted me from a samsari to a non samsari or a mukta purusha, there is no purpose of this knowledge. It is like adding another knowledge to whatever I already know. Many people want to show off that they know so many things, they have learned so many things, and they want to talk about it, so many things. But then, when this Brahma Vidya becomes just a topic of talking about it becomes just a Kushala Brahma Vartayam. That is, those who are only able to cleverly talk about Brahman, but devoid of this thought having transformed them. They are very clever. They have understood. Intellectually, they have understood. But then this thought has not gone deep into them. It has not established itself well. There is no jnana nishta. Such people remain suraginaha. That means they are full of kama, krodha, you know, all those things which have literally loosened their hold on a ragi. They are still having all those things. Their minds are running after the ragadveshas as much as an Ajnani's minds are running after. Ajnani's minds are running after means all the Ajnanis running after. Here, having a knowledge is not important. Shabda Janjala, that's not enough. I have to understand what it says and it should work for me. If it has not worked for me, then it is mere communicating this without it having done any kind of a impact on me. Unless this knowledge has given rise to samyak darshanam in me, unless it has transformed me from a samsari jiva to the asanga atma that I am, unless it has transformed me from an apurana jiva hankering, wanting things all the time, to a fulfilled, complete atma, this knowledge has really no value or no purpose. If the ignorance has not been removed by this knowledge, then this particular knowledge really has no purpose served. Vrittihinaha suraginaha. They are the same. They respond in the same way. A reactive mind, getting angry, being rude to people, trying to verbally and physically and emotionally be violent to others, then such a person has not benefited from this knowledge. Te api ajnanitaya noonam. They are as good as ajnanis. Just having this aham brahmasmi very clearly understood is not going to make any difference unless it has worked for me, unless it has removed my ignorance, unless it has freed me from the reactions of this mind and the consequent dukkha, yo-yoing of sukha dukkha, it has not worked for me. Therefore, te api ajnanitaya noonam. They are definitely, certainly are ignorant only. Nuna means definitely, certainly, they are ajnanis. Okay. And punarayanti yanti cha. They will come and go again in the samsara. The only thing is, they have somehow got this knowledge properly, possibly from the proper source of Shastra and Guru. They have understood it. No enough nididhyasanam has been done. So, probably in some other life, they will probably be pushed towards nididhyasanam and have this knowledge which is completely, assimilated. So, till the knowledge is assimilated, till the phalam of this knowledge is seen as jivan mukti, such a person cannot be called as a jnani. Mere understanding of Vedanta does not make a person a jnani. He is a paroksha jnani. Aparoksha jnanam and jivan mukti has not happened. Then he talks about people, the contradictory, other people who are in contrast to these ajnanis. Who are jnanis? He talks about them by contrasting them, by contrast. Nimeshar, nimeshardham natishtanti vrittim brahmamayim vina yatha tishtanti brahmadhyaha Sanakadhyashukadayah. Bhagwan Shankaracharya gives an example of certain jnanis for whom this vritti is available all the time. Like, I may not be thinking of my name all the time, but somebody asks me, "What's your name?" It comes, phat, like that. I don't have to search for it. This is what is meant by a nishtha in my name. A nishtha in this knowledge that I am so and so. It is available to me immediately, spontaneously, whenever I need it. This is jnana nishtha. It is available spontaneously. It is all the time there, but it doesn't prevent me from doing my normal vyavahara. I may be a jnani, I may be playing my role, I may be playing the role in the universe, in the world as I'm doing. It does not cause me any problems because this knowledge is there waiting to back me up when there is a disturbance. The backup is all the time there. Like the moment the electricity goes off, within a second, the UPS comes into action. Similarly, the moment the mind strays and responds reacts to certain thing, this knowledge immediately comes and puts that reactive thought down, and the negative influence of the world outside, mithya world, is removed. This is what is called as jnana nishtha, and this is the result of nididhyasanam. And this is what we are looking for in nididhyasanam. And in contrast, he says, nimeshardham natishtanti vrittim brahmamayim vina. Brahmamayim vrittim vina nimeshardham api na tishtanti. This brahmamayi vritti, brahmakara vritti, aham brahmasmi vritti, is there all the time, ready to be available to me in the matter of a fraction of a second. So, nimeshardham na tishtanti. That is, even for half a minute, these jnanis are not able to be without this assimilated knowledge. The meaning of assimilated knowledge is, it is there at my calling, it is there at my requirement. I don't have to look for it. I don't have to search for it. I don't have to wait for it. The minute I need it, it is there. So, Brahmamayim Vrittim Vina Nimeshardham na tishtanti. These people are not without the Brahma Akara Vritti even for half a moment. And who are they? He says, Yatha Tishtanti, just like in Brahmadhyaha. Here, Brahma means Chaturmukha Brahma Prajapati Brahma, the four-headed Brahma who has created this entire universe. This Brahma is one of these, persons who is a Jivan Mukta. That is why people go to Brahma and ask for this knowledge. That is why people who are upasakas and go to Brahmaloka are ultimately freed by Brahmaji, Lord Brahma, because he is a jnani who gives away this knowledge. So, Tishtanti Brahmadya Sanakadhyaha, like Sanat Kumaras. Brahmaji's or Chaturmukha Brahma's Manasa Putras, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanat Sujata, Sanat Kumara, they are also called as Sanakadhyaha. And do you remember these names? Sanakas, who are they? Sanakadi, they were the students of Dakshinamurti. When we saw Dakshinamurti Stotram, what did we see? Lord Dakshinamurti's Shishyas are who? Dakshinamurti is a Yuva, a young, auspicious looking Shiva, and all these Varishtas are there. All these, very, very aged rishis, Sanakadi rishis are there. And what is this that Dakshinamurti is giving this knowledge to these Sanakadi rishis, and that knowledge becomes an established knowledge in them. Shukadayaha. He gives Shuka as another example. Who is Shuka? Vyasacharya's putra. Vyasacharya's putra is Shuka. We give 3 or 4 examples for these kind of jnanis. Sanakadi, the Sanakas, that is, Sanat Kumaras, they are called as Shuka. Bhagwan, our Vyasacharya's son, Shuka, Brahmaji, Shaturmukha Brahma. Vamadeva is also talked about as a jnani. Vamadeva. So here he is mentioning these 3 exalted beings, where he says that these people cannot remain without this thought in the background, which is readily available to leap in whenever it is necessary. So these are the people in whom this thought is an established thought. Whereas, what is the previous verse? It is talking about Ajnanis who talk about Brahman, who have verbally understood what is Brahman, but it is not available for them when they need it. There is no assimilation, there is no jnana nishtha. So, from here onwards, from this 235 verse onwards, for a few verses, Bhagwan Shankaracharya talks about now the very nature of Brahman as talked about in our scriptures. So, normally, what is said when we are the beginners, Vedanta talk starts telling that Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Brahman is the Karanam or the cause for this entire unit. Okay, what kind of a Karanam for this entire universe? Nimitta Karanam, Upadana Karanam, Abhinna Nimitta Upadara Karanam. Means what? Material cause and the intelligent cause of this entire universe, two in one, in the same principle. Brahman is Jagat Karanam Brahma. But as we advance in our study, the same Upanishads tell us that Brahman is Karya Karana Vilakshanam. We have seen that in Viveka Chudamani. Karya Karana Vilakshana Yat Tad Brahma Aham Masi Iti Bhavayatmani. We have seen that in Nididhyasana shlokas. So, initially we are not able to understand. There is a universe, there is a Jagat I am seeing, and it is a beautifully running universe. There must be some cause for it. Without a cause, it is not possible to have a world like this. So, what should be the cause of this beautiful, expansive, never ending universe? Now, our scriptures temporarily say Brahman is the Karanam, the Jagat is the Karyam. But over a period of time, when we come to this level where we are, after many, many years of study of Vedanta, even the Karanatvam that is given to Brahman is questioned. And ultimately, Vedanta teaches us that Brahman or I am the Karya Karana Vilakshana Chaitanya Atma. Now, this particular method of teaching is what is called as the Adhyaropa Apavada method. It is a four-step method of teaching that Brahman is ultimately not even the Karana. It is Karya Karana Vilakshanam. Now, let us just see how it goes. Let me give you an explanation. Now, there is clay, a lump of clay which is converted into a pot. Correct? So the clay becomes the Karanam, the pot becomes the Karya. Now the clay is not there. Clay has been fully converted into a pot. I see the pot. When I see the pot, it is an effect that I am seeing, a name and form effect. Array, from where has it come? What is its cause? So naturally, what do I say? I bring in the clay as a cause. So acceptance of the karyam of pot, bringing in the clay as the karanam temporarily. I say clay is the karanam, pot is the karyam. Then Upanishads tell me, look at the pot. Is it really a karyam? Or is it the same karanam clay with a name and form? What has changed in the pot? Nothing has changed. It is that very clay, and I have given a shape and a form and a name to it, and I call it as pot. It has a certain utility. You weigh the clay and weigh the pot, it is the same. There is no difference. Okay, so what is pot? What is nothing nothing but the clay. Then what is that name and form? Which I have just attributed to it for Vyavahara sake. Because I have to give a certain name for everything for Vyavahara. I have to utilize it for something, therefore Vyavahara. There is a shape given to it for a particular purpose or utility. So what Upanishads or our scripture says, look at the pot and say, is it really a product of clay? No. It is clay itself with the name and form. It is clay itself with the name and form. Therefore, the next step is, then if it is clay itself as with the name and form, which is again mithya, then what is pot? Pot is not a karyam. Pot is clay with a name and form. Therefore, pot is not the karyam. If I have negated the karyatvam for the pot, where is the karanatvam for Brahman? Brahman is no longer the karanam. So initially it says accept a karyam, jagat as the karyam. So there should be a karanam for it. Okay, Brahman is the karanam for this jagat. Now, is jagat really a karyam? It is nothing but Brahman with a projection of name and form, which is mithya. Therefore, what is jagat? Brahman itself is the jagat. But I have superimposed, I means commonly we all have superimposed a name and form and utility for it, and we call it the karyam. Therefore, is the universe really a karyam? No, it is Brahman only. So, what was there was Brahman. What is there as the universe is Brahman. If universe is not the karyam, how can Brahman be the karanam? Therefore, what is Brahman? Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahman. This is called as the Adhyaropa Apavada. The first two steps are Adhyaropa, taking the effect to be real. The first step of Adhyasa or Adhyaropa. Accepting Brahman as the Karanam, Adhyaropa. The next third step, I see the Karyam as nothing but Karanam with a superimposed Namarupa, negation of Karyatvam for this Jagat. If there is no Karyam, if Jagat is not the Karyam, then Brahman is not the Karanam. You try to do this exercise with many things, to understand this. You take a clay and pot, take gold and ornament, take water and waves. Like that, you can take any number of examples and apply these four principles. And the most important teaching of Vedanta is that to say Brahman Atma is asangaha, though it is pervading everything, it transcends everything. Though Brahman is the whole Jagat Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, it transcends all the names and forms. Therefore, Brahman is not even the Karanam. So just like we say, Shariratraya Vyatirikta, Panchakosha Vilakshana, Avasthatraya Sakshi, Karya Karana Vilakshana Atma. That means what? What is there is only Atma or Brahman. All this name and form is a projected name and form, which has no reality in it. The only reality is Brahman. Brahman was, Brahman is, which has manifested as the Jagat. Brahman alone will be when the Namarupa Jagat gets resolved. Therefore, in this verse, 235th verse, it says, Karye karanata yata कारणेन हि कार्यता कारणत्वं स्वतो गच्छेत् कार्याभावे विचारतः. So he says, Karanam Brahman is in this entire universe, which we call as Karya. The universe does not pervade into Brahman. The Karyam, the universe, is not pervading into the Brahman. It is Brahman, the Karyam, which is found in everything that is the universe. Karye karanata yata ayata karane nahi karyata. In the Karyam, so-called Karyam, which we have accepted in the as the Jagat, the Karanam is in and through. But in Karyam, there is no inherent, in the Karanam, there is no inherent Karyam. Karanatvam swato gachet. The Karanatvam itself will not stand. Karya abhave vicharataha. Just start inquiring into the Karyatvam of the universe. Is universe really a Karyam? No. It is the Brahma itself with a false name and form. Among 100 gold ornaments, what is there is only gold. The name and form and the shape and the utility do not belong to the gold. It is only something superimposed by ignorance. Therefore, what is it? That is gold only with the name and form. Therefore, can you call a chain as the karyam of gold? Initially, yes, when we are starting Vedanta, yes. But now, by now, we have studied quite a lot. We have to understand that a chain is not the karyam. A chain is a mere gold itself with a false imposition, superimposition of name and form. Therefore, a chain is not the karyam, it is gold itself. If chain is not the karyam, then Brahman also is not the karanam. Karya karana vilakshana Brahma. So he says, Karanatvam swato gacche. Automatically, the Karanatvam for Brahman just disappears. Karya abhave vicharataha. There is no karyam at all. All that we see is nothing but Brahman with the mithya name and form. There is no karyam at all. Brahman has not converted itself to any effect. So, what is Brahman? What is Atma? What is Aham? Karya Karana Vilakshanam Brahmaham. Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani. That Karanam, that Brahma, which is Karya Karana Vilakshana, that is me, Tattvamasi, Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani, which we saw in Viveka Chudamani. That he says in the next words, he explains it again in the 236th verse. He says, Atha Shuddham Bhavedvastu Yadvai Vachamagocharam Drashtavyam Vridghatenaiva Drishtantena Punah Punah. So, what is this Brahman? What is this Atma? Shuddham bhavet vastuhu. If the karanam becomes karyam, the karyam affects the karanam. Correct? So, ata shuddham bhaved vastu. Vastu here means Brahman. This vastu, Brahman, is shuddham. Why it is shuddham? It is not affected by the so-called karyam of it. And actually speaking, the Jagat is not the Karyam. But initially we say what? Jagat Karanam Brahma, Tatastha Karanam of Brahma, Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. It is initially for us to hold on to something. Straight away, when I start, Atma Jnanam, if the Guru tells me, you are Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma, your Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahman, you are Panchakosha Vilakshana Avasthatraya Sakshi, Shariratraya Vyatirikta Atma. I will not attend the second class at all because I am so full of things which are afflicting me. How can I be that? How can I be that Nitya Shuddha Mukta Brahma? I'm so bound, so limited, so afflicted. Not a single day I find a moment of happiness. Therefore, what do the scriptures do? Temporarily they come to the level of our understanding and say, yes, Baba, there is a Jiva, you. There is a Jagat with objects, situations, other jivas. There is an Ishvara who's going to take or manage you both. Yes, yes. Jiva Jagat Ishvara Bheda is first talked about. Then gradually the Upanishad says that there is only one Atma in Jiva Jagat Ishvara. The Jiva Upadhi is Mithya. The Jagat Upadhi is Mithya. Ishvara Upadhi is also Mithya. The name and form that I have given to my personal God, it is nothing but Brahman. But the name and form is given by me. That my Ishta Devata really does not have a name and form, it is pure consciousness. And ultimately says that is the Karya Karana Vilakshana Atmaswarupa. That is the very substance, the very nature of the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Jivo Brahmaiva na Paraha. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara are one and the same. Atma. Because of the superimposed different names and forms, I take Jiva to be different from Jagat, Jiva to be different from Ishvara. Multiple Bhedas are coming. Therefore, really speaking, he says, Ata Shabda Bheda Vastu Yadvai Vachama Gocharam. This Vastu Brahman, which is Karya Karana Vilakshanam, cannot be explained and objectified by the words or by the mind. Mano Vachama Gocharam. Because it is me, myself. I am that very subject. The subject can objectify an object, but I am the very subject, constantly experiencing myself as ahamasmi, ahamasmi, ahamasmi. I am the very observer consciousness. I am not something that can be objectified by anything. I am not the vastu which has any name and form. The name and form in the form of this body is superimposed upon me by myself, by my ignorance, by my ajnana. Therefore, atha shuddham bhaved vastu yadvai vachama gocharam drishtavyam vridghatenaiva drishtantena punaha punaha. If you have difficulty in understanding yourself as the Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahma, Mrid Ghate Naiva Drishtantena Drishtavyam Punaha Punaha. May you contemplate upon this Drishtanta. What Drishtanta? Example, Mrid Ghata or Swarna Abharana or Jalam and wave. Any of these you take. And see, go on applying that rule, the 4-step rule, and you will understand that water is neither the karanam for the waves. Waves are not the karyam of water. Waves are mere appearance in water. What is water? वेव विलक्षण कार्य कारण विलक्षण water vastu. Similarly clay, similarly gold, similarly aham, who am I, karya karana vilakshana drik swarupa chaitanya atma. This is the very, the ultimate, the peak of the teaching of Vedanta. Then we'll go to the next verse. अनेनैव प्रकारेण वृत्तिब्रह्मात्मिका भवेत् उदेति शुद्धचित्तानां वृत्तिज्ञानं ततः परम्. By this thought alone, by applying the Adhyaropa Apavada method alone, Brahmatmika Vritti Bhave. This Brahmakara Vritti, Aham Brahmasmi Vritti gets established in me. Udeti Shuddha Chittanam. Okay? In this Brahman centered thought, that means Aham Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahma Asmi iti Udeti Shuddha Chittanam. Those who are pure minded means those whose minds are pakva to receive this thought, those whose minds are absolutely prepared to receive this thought. In such people, udeti vritti jnanam, aham brahmasmi iti jnanam becomes established. It becomes absolutely, becomes what? It is an abidance, becomes firm, a thought which never can be missed. So, in such a Shuddha Vritti, a purified intellect by Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, with a constant nididhyasanam on this, Aham Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahmatma Asmi iti, this Vritti becomes established in me, which is called as the Jnana Nishtaha. Okay, then Tataha Param Vritti. This Vritti is what? Param Vritti. This is the highest Vritti, the highest knowledge is established in me. Okay, then in the next verse he says, Karanam Vyatirekena Pumanadau Vilokayet अन्वयेन पुनस्तद्धि कार्ये नित्यं प्रपश्यति. Okay. Initially, a mumukshu may see the karyam as separate from the karanam. The mumukshu may see the jagat as different, separate. Karanam vyatirekena adau, initially, puman vilokaye. Okay? The cause, Brahman, is distinct from the world outside. This is my understanding in the beginning, and it is correct. I have to start from there. I have to start from the difference and come to the non difference. I have to start from many and then come to the one. It's like a pyramid. A base, pyramid base. Start with many, and gradually over a period of time, I come to the tip where there is Ekameva Advitiya Atma Brahma, and that is me, Ahamasmi. So initially, I may look at a Karanam Vyatirekena Karyam as the Jagat. I may see Karya Vyatiriktena Karanam as Brahman in the initial state, Vilokayet. अन्वयेन पुनः तद्धि कार्ये nityam prapashyati. Then I will realize that this karanam is not different from karyam. The karanam is pervading in and through the karyam. Therefore, what is there is only this Brahman karanam. Karyam is as good as not there. If there is no Karyam, why should I call Brahman as Karanam? Therefore, what is there without this Jagat also is pure Brahman. What is there in and through this entire Namarupa Jagat is also nothing but Brahman. Therefore, can I call Brahman as the Karanam? No, because it is there everywhere. Can I call the Jagat as Karyam? Initially, yes, but then I have to understand that this name and form Jagat has nothing to do with this Brahman. Brahman is everywhere in and through the entire world, but it has nothing to do with the names and forms. It is Asanga. Like I, the Atma, is in and through this Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, but I have nothing to do with this Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira. The Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira cannot sully me in any way. The only thing that can do is to create an ignorance in me and keep me separated from this and keep me away from knowing my nature. That's it. Because my attention is on the karyam. I am not thinking about the karanam. Therefore, Vedanta says, accept the karyatvam karyam initially, then see that the karyam is nothing other than Brahman. Therefore, the karyatvam given to the Brahman may it be disposed. What you see is only Brahman. When the karyatvam, the name karyam is given up, where is the question of the name karanam for Brahman? This is what is called as the Adhyaropa Apavada method. This is the only method of teaching Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This is the only method of teaching that ultimately everything that is there is Brahman. When I understand Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat, I have to understand that in these two statements, I am seeing only Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahman Chaitanya Atma. So with this, I think we have come. We, of course, it further goes one more, verses there. Karye hi karanam pashyet, paschat karyam visarjayet, karanatvam svato nashyet, avashishtam bhave munihi. This is that particular method of derivation which is talking about. Whatever I told you in 4 steps, those 4 steps are given in this 239th verse as the summary of the Adhyaropa Apavada. I think what we'll do is we'll take up this verse and we'll be completing. We'll be completing the Aparokshanubhuti. We have another 6 verses, and that will be finishing in the next session. Then we'll see what we'll be taking up again. नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्था शाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तत्सत्